Welcome to the channel, everybody. You've seen the thumbnail. We're talking about bare plaster priming again. I'm going to try out, because off the last video that I did, which was there telling you how to prime bare plaster, I had a few people commenting that I should have tried the Isomat 2-in-1 white primer. So on this job, and you might have seen a video related to this job, I'm working at home. I've done one of the Plaster skim products, you know, from Plaster. Now, off the last video doing that, there's probably been other videos between. That's all sanded down, and I've got virtually a proper plaster wall to paint. Now, my idea is I want to try this Isomat paint, the 2-in-1 primer. Now, the 2-in-1 primer is suitable for substrates, bare plaster like this. And if you can just see, it's there, it's very heavy. You get 9 litres, roughly about 50 something quid. Don't quote me on that. It's around about 50 quid for a 10 litre tub with 9 litres of paint in it. Now, this is a water-based product. It goes on to bare plaster surfaces, and the thinning ratio is up to 15%. Now, for this, I've gone with 10%. When you take the lid off the tub, there's plenty of room to add water to it and mix it up. So what I've done, because I know I've got a job coming up where I've got bare plaster to be painting as well as this, I've thinned down already at 10%. So I've mixed the tub up at 10%. So that's going to be good for me to go straight onto this, we're calling it a bare plaster surface, to prime it out, ready for subsequent coats going over the top. If you wanted to go to the 15%, I would probably say that's if you were going to be spraying, because you need the spray finish to go soaking. Well, the spray finish has got to soak into the wall. It's not going to be applied mechanically, i.e. by a brush onto the surface and push into the substrate. So the thinner you can get your paint when you're doing with a spray stroke wash coat, the better. Well, if it recommends 15%, go with 15% and spray it on. But for this, I'm brushing it. I'm brushing it with, I really like these. Don't know whether you can get them. They want to be producing them. It's the Monarch, and it's the advanced brushes, and it's a 4-inch. Because I have brush skills, I can brush these walls out, no problem. Now, I'm going to be painting this with a brush, and you're going to say to me, Phil, what about drying times? Now, drying time for recoating is 3 to 5 hours. It's quite warm in here. We've got a bit of wind coming through. I'll probably say it's probably gone off within an hour. I'm going to speculate and say it's probably gone off and dry within an hour. But leave it that 3 to 5 hours before you put your second coat on, and you should be good to go. You don't always need a second coat. Just wait up. Play it by ear, see what the surface is like, read the back of the tin, look at the technical data sheet, because it is a 2-in-1 primer. You can use it for bare plaster surfaces as well as doing colour changes. So if you've got a dark colour on a wall, particularly like mine, it's actually a colour wash orange. If you were doing something a bit darker than that and you were changing to a lighter colour, it might be an idea to use something like this, because the 2-in-1 element of this paint is you can use it a bit like an adhesion priming out paint that will actually blank out a darker colour to allow you to come back with, yeah, a lighter colour. Now, you might not need to thin it. If you've already got a sound surface that's pre-painted that's good like that is, you might find that it can go on straight out the tin, or just a splash of paint, 5% might be enough just to make it easier to apply. So I think this is going to be the product for me. We're going to be priming out, seeing what it's like, and then we'll be painting it at a later date on another video. But for now, this will be a short and sweet. I'm just going to get some paint out now, which I've already got, start painting, and then I'll just talk to you then when we've finished. Right, you can see me up in this corner. This is a sanded down wall with the Merca. I've gone over it with a dusting cloth just to get any last little bits of dust off, but you might find that there still is dust on the surface like that. Don't worry too much. This is the whole point, you're putting a primer coat on. Now, I'm brushing it on. It feels quite thick and round. Not too worried about that. That's because we're going over a dry surface. But as I said, I am thinned at 10%, so that should be quite all right. Now I'm going slightly onto the coving, and I'm coming down my walls into the corner. It does feel quite a thick paint. I'm just going to bring out, just sniffing my bristle. Can't actually smell anything to it. Just going to bring it down. Trying to not splash my wife's curtains because they're still up. I've got a sheet down. Just feathering that off there. So I'm actually bringing down that corner that you saw probably on the last video where I taped it into the angle, and I'm going to be bringing it down as I go along. Just working small sections. I am brushing it. You can roll it if you want, but I want to make sure it's going into the surface nicely. This is very sticky paint to apply. That's probably a good thing. Right. When you're applying emulsion like this, make sure you're getting it covering nicely. You're not laying off with it. All you're doing is just applying it and crow's nesting it, and your crow's nesting it is in like a wicker basket sort of fashion. This is very nice. You know, I've said before, if you do want to be using cheap contract matte emulsions for your priming of your bare surfaces, feel free. But personally, I prefer to use a dedicated primer that is geared up for surfaces, and it makes it a lot better when you start coming to apply your better quality paints over the top. Right, I'm going to turn the camera off now. I'm going to crack on and I will see you when I've done. But so far, so good. But I will say, it's quite a thick paint to apply. Right, I'm coming back to you after, I want to say about an hour. It might be a bit longer than that. I said this would dry easily within an hour. Well, I'd say probably 30 minutes it had gone off. Now don't forget, it is 3 hours to 5 hours recoat time. But let's talk about the product. I've done both sides, and I'm going to tell you again, I'm not sponsored by anybody. A lot of these products I purchase personally, through the business, or I actually buy them like this because I'm using it at my own house. I buy these products to try out and use them for the first time that I've probably never tried them before. So I would like to think I give you an honest opinion of what I think of a product as I'm using it for the first time, just like you would be using a product that you've never used before and you go out and buy it and try it. So I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm going to be brutally honest. Now, this product is a product, I would say, for the professional, not so much the amateur DIYer. You're going to say why? Right, I thinned that down by 10% and I brushed it and I found it not easy to apply. It felt it was pulling, it felt a bit round. Now, you're going to say to me, and people are shouting at me, Phil, thin it down more. I know I could have thinned it down more, and it does say, depending on your surfaces, your porosity of your surface, your suction of your surface, you thin accordingly, up to 15%. Now, somebody's going to tell me, Phil, don't worry, you can go more than that. Well, that's fair enough. You learn, don't you, as you go along, but this is the first time I've actually used it. So at 10% going over that, Plaster, multi-light, skim stroke, plaster, I struggled brushing it. It was, I'm not say hard work, it was all right to get on, but I'm not saying you break your wrists, but you could break your wrists. Now, somebody's going to say to me, Phil, but if you roll it, yeah, I know you can roll it. I wanted to get a brush finish. I wanted to feel the paint. I wanted to see what it was like. And to be fair, it has gone on all right. Now, it is one of these products that has got an adhesion property to it for going over surfaces that, you know, needs a bit of adhesion. But the penetration, it says penetration, it's got penetrating properties to it and quick drying, and I will say it has penetrated into that surface and it is quick drying. But I would say if I'd got a bare plastered room, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'd got a brand new house, new build, bare plaster, would I go to this for actually priming it out? Now, you can use it for that, and I would say if I was spraying it, would I be able to thin it more to get it on easier, or brush it or roll it? Is it a product? Please tell me, enlighten me. I would say somebody who's, I don't want to say an old school dinosaur, or a decorator that's not willing to try new products, would probably try this out and go, this is rubbish, it's too thick, it's too... I tell you what it feels like. It feels like you're putting on, if you've tried applying Zinza All Primer, which is an oil-based product that goes over multiple surfaces, problem surfaces, it feels like you're applying that. It feels like you're applying an oil-based paint. I'm not saying you're struggling with it, but you are working it. So I'm going to say, is this a product that you would do a full plastered out room that's bare plaster? You possibly could do, but it's not going to be as easy as the decorator that's going to say to me, get some Optiva primer, get some bare plaster primer from Screwfix like you've seen in the last video that I did, thin that slightly, get it on, it'll be dead easy. I don't think this is that sort of product. I think this is that next level of product, because the whiteness and the opacity and the obliteration of that is second to none. Look how it's covered in those corners. That is a good product. It's weighty, it's heavy in the tub, which always is a good sign for a quality product if you struggle lifting it. If you feel like you need to go to the gym, and there's a lot of people out there that are obviously decorators that go to the gym because I see them wearing the tracksuit bottoms all the time, no overalls. This is a product for you because you'll be lifting weights. You won't need to go to the gym, you'll be like that. So I'm going to say this product isn't easy to apply. I found it, I've struggled. But where this product has excelled is the feel of the surface. It feels like it's got a product on there that's going to help you, which this is what it's geared up for, is going to help you with your subsequent coats over the top. It doesn't feel dry. It doesn't feel a cheap false opacity paint, you know, one that you get wet with the cloth and it softens back up. It isn't that. But it's a water-based product. And you know what? The brush washed out beautifully. Now, the proof in the pudding will be when I come to put some emulsion over the top of this. I think this will go on a treat on top of that. I think the emulsion will go on really nicely. But as a product for the first time, I was a little bit surprised how hard it was to apply. Now, I want somebody to tell me in the comments below that they use it quite a lot. You use it on new build rooms, new build plastered houses, and you're thinning it down probably more than 15%. Please tell me you do that, because at 10% over there, I struggled brushing it. I've got it on and it's actually dried lovely and white. But going over bare plaster, would have struggled doing a full room. I'm not sure. I'd probably find it hard work. You would do it, but you would probably be struggling. But saying that, this is a product, it isn't that cheap contract matte emulsion that we've probably been used to previously. This is a quality product that it takes you on to your next level of decorating, that if you are using expensive paints, wallpapers, things like that, you want to be using the best products. And tell me if I'm wrong, is this one of the best products as a bare plaster stroke 2-in-1 primer? And the 2-in-1 primer being, you're doing away with that first coat of paint that you put onto a surface because you're going to use this. This is going to help you with your subsequent coats over the top. It also can be used to blank out darker colours to go to a lighter, and vice versa. This is also a product that can be tinted. So if you are going over coloured walls that need to be brought back to a different colour, you could be using this tinted to help you with your subsequent coats over the top. And you're going to say, what's a good Isomat paint that goes over the top of this? Professional Colour. That's a really nice paint. That's around about, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 pounds for a 10 litre tub. That's got a slight sheen to it. If you go to Premium Colour, another good product, that's a little bit the other side of £100. That's a flatter finish. Both great products, which would be hand in glove to this. And on that note, I think I've said enough. Comment below. Please watch the videos that come up at the end, and also those that are giving me super thanks and buy me a coffee. It's much appreciated. I hope these videos are helping you select your paints for your next job.